hello there, and welcome to Roundtable. I'm your host, Adam Cook. This week, we're once again going round the Richmond County Council table as we bring you two presentations from the most recent Committee of the Whole meeting held by Richmond Council in Arishat. Later on in the program, you'll hear how Richmond councillors are mulling over contributing to the last stretch of a major fundraising drive by a tourism site over in Victoria County, specifically Highland Village Museum in Iona. But we begin by looking at the situation for road repair in St. George's Channel. And we're not specifically talking about road washouts that took place in that community along the Boudreau Lake as a result of Hurricane Fiona. This time around, we're looking at a road situation connected to a spot called St. George's Channel Estates. Paul Wall, who was one of the original developers of that particular part of Richmond County, wants to see some action taken by the municipality, the province, or both to help upgrade a section of road that's caused trouble for residents of St. George's Channel Estates, especially during the wintertime. Here is Paul Wall's presentation to Richmond Council's Committee of the Whole and Council's response.
I built Wall Street, started it in about 1991, and built it up to government standards, which were, at that time, far ahead of a 20-foot right-of-way, which was only allowed at that time. So I put a 66-foot right-of-way in, and it was turned over to the provincial government right away in October of 1994. Right now, there's so much foliage growing out of portions of the road that there's 10-inch trees growing out of the shoulder. And I mean this big. And they're leaning over the road. It is a hazard for pretty well everybody that walks up and down the road to the mailbox. You can't see the stop sign driving down Wall Street coming up to the highway. I have several pictures I'll leave you with today. As a developer, and I designed this subdivision, it's very disheartening to see nothing happen from the province and the municipality to follow up to, I expect that when I turn the road over that there'd be a regular protocol of maintenance and upgrades, but from my personal knowledge, it doesn't matter how many times you can contact the Department of Transportation. They don't seem to follow up on it at all. There's no protocol put in place to have the road graded. Sometimes it goes 3 years without grading, and I do live on the street. By the way, we have a new neighbor that moved into Mr. Greg West over here, and Greg's an architect and architect technologist and project engineer. He's moved here from Ontario, and he's taken up residence here. And I'd like to see our community get more people, and of course that's a way we're getting them. And but you got to maintain it. I mean, I'm not allowed to go and maintain that road now because it belongs to the provincial government. I'm not allowed to cut any trees. I had some personal health issues. The ambulance and the police can't even get to my home. They can't see my door number. No matter where, I'd have to put my door number in the middle of the road for someone to recognize where my door is at. I expected by now as well that through community health that we'd have 117 homes in there. There's 117 building lots, 2.5 to 7 acres in the area, and there's only about 35 homes in there. So if we turned around and look at all the tax money we're losing. We're paying a couple of $100s for a treed lot as compared to if it was a home built on it. We'd be paying a few thousand, depending. Some of the homes farther out on Maple are in the $5 million range. And when I look at how can the municipality, how can it embrace sustainability so that that road would be sustained and maintained over the years, embed sustainability into the culture and operation of your municipal corporation. So there should be a protocol set out that for all roads. Look at mine, 30 years now. I put $100,000 of my own money in that. To see it just dilapidated, trees growing out at the corner of the road. You can see the pictures I have there, but that's my brother and my nephew when the road was first turned over. You can see it's a 66-foot wide right-of-way. You can see all the way up the hill, good clearances. I'm standing on the West Bay Highway taking that photo.
Okay.
The center photo is from the same location yesterday. You can't even see up the road. Not counting if you go up there a little farther, you can't see the stop signs. And on your right, you can see a picture of the 50-kilometer-an-hour signage. You can't even read 50 kilometers an hour, and it's covered by trees. And I'm showing a picture there of the mailbox. That's just past my home, and if I walk from my home past Mr. West's home, I have to be out 15 to 20 feet into the middle of the road, and I have poked my eye twice this year and had to put these dilating eye drops in my eyes and stay in the dark for a week because I can't even walk to my mailbox. And there's, between that area, it's about 4 feet hanging up on the guide wires. It's going to hit the wires at any day now. And if you look just past the mailbox in that third photo, you can see that the trees that grew in from up there, cars come down from the other end of Wall Street at 100 kilometers an hour. There's a few people that go up there and they let their children ride on their bicycles and while they're getting the mail. And the cars will come out of there. There's only about a 40-foot clearance. You can't see who's at the mailbox. And that's the community mailbox for the whole area, for all of Cape George region. So I'd like to see it cleaned up, that. I really would. I'd like to see my investment treated properly. I believe in Cape Breton. I believe in people should come here and live here. But also, I was in the process of putting several homes across the street from the mailbox there. And I've been working with Mr. West, and I put this on hold. I can't put seniors in there walking up and down the road, and they're not safe walking up and down the road. Traffic goes into there. I've spoke to the RCMP. They said they might come up with a speed trap car and see who's coming out of there. But I don't think I should have to do that. It shouldn't be up to me. It should be up to the municipality and the province to come and inspect this. So I am asking for, in my letter, an assessment, a road maintenance report so it can eliminate the hazards, and a completed hazard assessment, which is part of the Department of Transportation bylaws, which I have here. I thought I set up something that this community would really like. A 66-foot right-of-way with a 33-foot top, a good road built right the first time. But nothing's been done since. It's very disheartening, and it's not attracting people to our community that need to live here. It's been difficult. So if there's a way that I can get this done, I know I have mentioned in my letter about paving. I know they're going to pave the West Bay Highway coming up next year, and maybe we can include that in there, but I'll leave that up to council to decide that. But I figure after 30 years and the investment from myself, that, you know, it is the mailbox, Canada Post for the whole area, would be nice to have it paved and properly ditched. And as I was forced to do, to build the road, there's no way they would have took it over if I didn't build it to those standards of Department of Transportation. I have built many roads over the province. I was in the engineering and architecture land survey world for years, and I've never witnessed this lax of maintenance on any other road in any other municipality in Nova Scotia.
I will
Not saying that they
stop
aren't
you
now.
there maybe, because I can tell you you're not alone.
I know that
This
now,
level
yeah.
of road maintenance is basically become more the norm, sadly, than, you know, and I know that that's partly because of fiscal restraints, and I'm sure there are a variety of other factors, but you're not alone,
I know.
Mr. Wall.
I remember better times when there was more people employed by Department of Transportation. They had a bigger budget, and when you called, things were done pretty much right away. Guardrails were put in certain places and that. But now I know they've cut back on equipment, plows, budgets. I've dealt with Darren Blunden up there 100 times over, even, and the planning department, and I'm really trying to make a better community out of Richmond County. And I would like to see this new invigorated council come forward and put some improvements to attract business and development into this area. And if I was to look and see and say, oh, a business is going to come in here and invest here now, I got second thoughts of that. If the municipality's not going to follow up with helping, you force people to build a road and pave the road, but nothing's done for 30 years after that, that's not acceptable for any developer.
So, so questions for Mr. Wall, before we maybe get started, I did want to, I do want to point out, Paul, you and I have back and forth, and I know you've been in contact with the MLA. We're kind of a little bit in the same boat as you, where we can't go cutting trees on a provincial road either, right? So a lot of what you're asking for is really outside of our direct authority, and we're going to continue to, try to influence and advocate, but honestly, really, that's where our level of authority sort of ends. And the Canada Post maintenance, around that's a federal
But they only maintain 2
responsibility.
feet in front of the mailbox, so that's
Still,
nothing.
still their responsibility, though, and then the provincial government is responsible for maintaining the roads. And we are not, we can't go and do maintenance on a provincial asset. It's, we're just.
Well, it's a
we're
cost sharing because it's a J-class road.
Right, but the
Yeah.
J-class program, that cost-sharing program is only for certain types of work, right? And so we look at what are the roads around, and we assess each year kind of going forward. We tried to assess one last year, Langley Lane, which is in Point Tupper, in much worse condition in a much more commercial area than Wall Street, and we still could not afford to do it. So we are constrained fiscally, because we can't just use that J-class money for whatever kind of maintenance, for just brush cutting. We can't do that. It has to be certain activity. And I'm maybe forgetting exactly what that activity is.
I defer to Chris on that, but there are certain maintenance schemes that are allowed and others that are
just
out
not.
of scope.
Yeah. So this is what we run into, and right now the quotes are coming back. What was it, almost twice as much as what? And so we've had to defer that kind of work for now. But at the end of the day, we can't go ahead and just do the most urgent pieces, because we don't own the asset.
Well, it's not that it's not that I'm just asking for this now. I've been calling for 20 years to get this done.
But we still don't own the asset. We never owned the asset fully. It's so the province is where we need that level of support. And I would agree with you that we need planned maintenance.
Yeah.
And that's something that we're gonna, I think, continue to advocate.
I believe, and I'm not certain of this, and you people can correct me on this, I believe Cape George Estates is the most exclusive subdivision in Richmond County. 2-acre lots with restricted covenants, all private, set up very beautiful. The roads in there are very good. There's about 8 or 9 miles of roads in there now. And with municipal help, that could be a big bonus for this municipality. If you built the homes in there and got this up, this would be a big tax for this
Yeah, no
municipality.
question. And we're always interested in expanding our tax base and
Exactly.
creating new opportunity here. But, sometimes some of this stuff is just a little bit outside of our direct control, I guess is the point I'm making, so.
But it put me in a position that I turned it over expecting, as I read the Municipal Government Act, that all of these things are going to happen, and none of them happened.
Well,
And
I can't
if I look
speak
at my
to-
return on my
yeah.
investment, I took a loss from the day I started it.
Yeah, I mean, I really can't speak to,
And-
what happened way before, but all I can tell you
And this is a
we don't-
better
we don't
council
own the
now, vigorous and young, and I expect you can do more.
Well, thank you. And like I said, we're gonna continue to champion for road work. It's probably the call that we get the most about.
Yeah.
I will be honest
Yeah.
with you. Yeah.
So
Any
I'm
oth-
hoping in the next few months, and we can maybe solidify some of this, and I have contacted Kim Maslin, and Trevor Boudreau's been
That's
on
great.
site looking at things, and the bridge is being repaired at Cape George Harbor there at the end of Wall Street finally. It was built in 1941. It's all pressure-treated wood, and it's really unsafe for the bus to go over for children and that. So I'm just trying to make it a better community to live in and attract people to live here.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you putting it on the radar for sure, and it has been on our radar. It's, but, you know, like I said, sometimes we can't directly influence the things we don't own fully, so we'll just continue to advocate, and that's probably the best that we can do at this point. I know we're out of time, but I would want to offer to councillors, I feel like I took up all the airtime there. Do you have any questions for Mr. Wall?
No, I guess I would say the same thing. I mean, honestly, I sit on both sides, and everybody knows that. So I won't speak for it being the, as I guess you relate to it, Paul, the best, the best. What did you say? Subdivision,
Right.
or the nicest. So that would demeanor
It's
some
a
of the
good
other ones,
one,
but
anyway,
it's a
yeah.
very good one.
Yeah.
I will say, like Madam Warden, honestly, being there, I do know that, you know, your biggest push is with the MLA, and that's where you got to keep knocking on the doors between
Yes.
them and Department of Transportation, because unfortunately, like you said, many cuts have come down in the last several years, and I can tell you many more are coming. So it's only getting worse, not getting better.
And now we have a presentation from the Board of Directors and Fundraising Chair from Highland Village Museum in Iona. Now you may be thinking to yourself, what does that have to do with Richmond County? Well, you might be surprised to know that in its current drive to raise $6.84 million for upgrades to Highland Village Museum, the Board of Directors has reached out not only to municipalities across Cape Breton Island, but also to municipalities as far afield as Pictou County and the Halifax Regional Municipality. So this time around, they're making a pitch to Richmond Council to consider contributing to the final $300,000 of this multi-million-dollar fundraising campaign. Here is Rodney Chesson, the director of the board for Highland Village Museum, giving his presentation to Richmond Municipal Council's Committee of the Whole and telling Council how Richmond could take part in the final leg of the fundraising.
So I'll just give you a quick overview of what we've been doing in Iona the last couple of years. COVID may have had visitation quiet, but we certainly had a lot happening. So Highland Village is Living History Museum. We tell a Nova Scotia story. We are located in Victoria County, but it is very much a Nova Scotia story. We're telling the story of Gaels, their language, culture, and kinship. We've got 12 period buildings over 4 eras, and it's a natural period setting. We've got costume staff and about 3 to 4,000 artifacts, farm animals. The idea of we're giving people a sensorial immersive visitor experience that really gets them into what Gaelic life was like for our ancestors. And you can see a map there at the bottom showing the darker the green, the higher percentage of Gaelic speakers were in that area at the turn of the century. So as basically that's illustrating that Gaelic is not an Iona thing. Gaelic is very much an Eastern Nova Scotia thing, including a big part of Richmond County. In 2009 was kind of a milestone year for us. 2019, sorry. It was 60th anniversary for the organization and 20 years since we joined the Nova Scotia Museum. We had started strategic planning in 2015, looking at our assets and looking at how we needed to grow, what we needed to really provide us with the capacity to grow, not only grow, but even just maintain what we were doing. So we had developed an original site strategy in 2015 that was followed by some business planning and a conceptual study in 2016. Our own municipality, the Municipality of Victoria County, and ACOA were on board actually before we even finished the 2016 strategy. And then the province moved on board as well. And what we developed was originally a $3.6 million site development strategy that over the last few years, because of COVID and other factors, is actually a $6.8 million strategy developed with the Nova Scotia Museum in partnership with the province, ACOA, Canadian Heritage, and Victoria County. What we will have at the end is 3 new structures, 3 renovated structures, and 4 new exhibits. And I'm just going to quickly go through them. This is the centerpiece of the strategy, which is our new Welcome Cultural Center. It's a 7,700 square foot facility, which will provide us year-round capacity to do things, which we haven't had in the past. We'll house visitor reception. We'll have 2 exhibition spaces, which kind of bookend the experience on site. So we've got an orientation, who the Gaels were, why they left Scotland, and then the Gaelic Nova Scotia today kind of wraps up 1920s to present. There's a library and archives, genealogy center, which we're going to be called the Seneca Center, which I'll talk about in a second. We've got the multi-purpose programming space, our gift shop, a commercial kitchen, and our administrative offices. There's a bit of a floor plan there. We did have a soft opening this year, so we're gradually getting in the building and getting it set up. And we'll do our official opening in the spring of 2023. The building is high energy efficiency standard. It's Passive House, which is a German standard, where the building envelope is, the design of the building envelope really makes the energy efficiency, so it relies less on the mechanical system. These are some pictures of our new building. The top left one there is the gift shop. The top right one is looking out at the stage from our new tuning room. And then, of course, there's one looking down on the hill, and then that's our exhibit space. The exhibits aren't in yet, but that's the space. The Seneca Center, which I referred to, is Seneca is Gaelic for traditions. We've had a great donor from a friend of Jim St. Clair's, who made a significant donation to our project in memory of Jim, and this is will be our library and archives, our roots, Cape Breton genealogical materials, Jim's own papers, which are being split between us and the Beaton, Joe McLean collection of fiddle manuscripts, Donnie Campbell's Celtic Serenade collection of Celtic music recordings, Carl Mackenzie recordings and materials, and a whole lot more. So this is going to be a great resource center for anybody looking at Gaelic language and culture. Exhibits. I mentioned the 2 in the Welcome Center. We're also looking at 2 outdoor interpretive kiosks. We're doing one with the Mi'kmaq and the relationship with the Gaels, and there's also one for the Boudreau Lake, the natural and cultural connections of the biosphere. And those are in fabrication now and will be installed this fall and next spring. The other elements, the shingle mill. So this is period equipment that came from the Cash family in Irish Cove, and it served Gaelic communities all over Eastern Cape Breton. That officially opened this fall. And this is an old barn that we turned into an on-site activity center for programming. It's also a green room for our church concerts and functions. New washroom building. These are all things that the latter part here is, they're not as exciting as the new building, the new main building, but they really provide us with enhanced capacity. And this one in particular was for our growing cruise ship traffic, because we prior to COVID saw a huge explosion in cruise ship traffic to the village. New maintenance workshop to support our maintenance program. As I mentioned, we've got 12 buildings and 12 period buildings. We've got other buildings as well as artifacts and equipment as well. And this is our old visitor center, which has been renovated outside. It will actually become our curatorial center, so it'll be artifact storage and our costume department as well. So total project costs about $6.8 million, at $100,000 from Victoria County. The province is in with 4.2, the Government of Canada 1.4, and so we had a community private sector fundraising goal of $1 million, and we're in the last stage. The final 300,000 is what we're working on now with our campaign. As we move forward, these are things that we're looking at in terms of strengthening our story. So some of these elements will help there. Now that COVID, we hope, is behind us, we're really looking at our experience as well, making them more immersive, enhanced site tours, and experience for visitors, new partnerships we're looking at as well. And of course, as everybody is talking in almost every sector now, especially tourism, around recruitment and retention and succession planning and labor market issues as well. So those are some of the bases of our strategic plan that we entered into prior to COVID, and now that we've got all this enhanced capacity with our physical structures, we're going to be revisiting those. And so some things, I mentioned we're working hard to share and promote our story with our community and our visitors. We've got a wide range of offerings for the community. This program is really going to help us build on our successes and expand our programming. It will also enable us to enhance our creation of an atmosphere where everyone can come together and celebrate the culture. It's going to better position us to return strong post-COVID, which we have had a really good season this year. And also looking at things, there's an international focus around museums in terms of museum changing lives. Museums being not just a place where people go in and find the old story, but where we become actual ways to actually create change within a community. And that, in a nutshell, is our project. So Telile, Callen, and Nasi.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
It's almost $7 million, project, and you're in the last 300K. That's a milestone in itself, so that's awesome. It looks fantastic, and I am mad that I didn't stop in on my way by 10,000 times this summer.
Well, next trip, you know
I
what
am
to
going to
do.
have to stop in.
Yeah.
So any questions from council for Rodney?
Yeah, you had mentioned that, your goal is to go year round. So what's your current time frame now for operation?
What we've been doing in the past is basically we're running, the period site won't be year-round, but we will be able to have the capacity to do programming year-round. What we've only been able to do in the past is basically made it to late October, maybe the first week of November, depending upon weather. Our last, our stage building, our backstage building is what we use for programming and functions, and it wasn't winterized. We really couldn't get much beyond that, whereas this building will provide us with the capacity to do things 12 months of the year. In 2019, we had just shy of 26,000 people. The vast, but probably 99% of that was May to October. This year, prior to Fiona, we lost probably about 55 buses. From Fiona because of ships not being able to dock in Sydney. So prior to Fiona, we were running at about 82 to 84% in 2019. As of the end of September, we're actually about 75 to 78%.
That's
So,
pretty good.
so even without that loss of buses,
Yeah.
if we hadn't lost those buses, we're going to end the
Would've
year
blown
probably.
right through that.
Yeah, you were well on your way
Wow.
for sure, yeah,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
55, you just blew my mind
Yeah.
with that number. I'm struggling to recover.
38% of our business in 2019 was from cruise.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So you're obviously doing these presentations, you're drumming up more financial support, I'm assuming, and you're looking for investments and from all the different areas that basically the map would cover kind of thing? Is that,
Yeah,
great.
we've had some great support from Victor County, from Halifax,
Oh, wow.
Antigonish County.
Great.
Our own municipality's been very, very supportive.
Yes, I saw that.
So we've had some great donors. Actually, we've had some really good support from American donors as well.
Oh, interesting.
And we actually have a conduit through Community Foundation Nova Scotia that we can actually provide tax incentives for
Oh, that's
for US
fantastic.
donors.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really great. So timeline-wise, are you looking to get this last piece wrapped up before the end of the fiscal, or are you looking at sort of investments in the next fiscal year as well? A fiscal being end of March for municipalities. So what's your...
You want to handle that one?
Well, we are trying to wrap this
He's
up.
the chair of my fundraising committee.
Okay.
We are trying to wrap this up as soon as we can. And we're down at the last piece here. We are still looking at taking donations over a period of years if people want to do an amount for 2 years or 3 years, or
Right.
5 years. But if we have a commitment, then we can say we can put that into closing the fundraising. But
Yeah.
we're trying to put an end to it. We've had a very difficult time because of COVID. Our first meeting was scheduled in Pictou County, our first discussion about funding, and it got canceled the previous day by COVID. And Rodney and I glow in the dark now because we've done everything by Zoom.
Yes. I know that feeling well. Yes.
But long-term commitments, we're still open to them.
Okay. Great, okay, that's great. So we have, I guess, just for your information, we have a couple, I guess, of ways of supporting projects like this. We have a grant application program. It does max out at a certain amount. I think it's $10,000 for our regional grant funds. I will tell you at this point in the fiscal year, we are getting pretty low on those funds. But then we also, at budget time, we have a list of strategic investments that we make each year in addition to the grant program, where maybe there is something that we could do. So I would just manage the expectation a little bit for this year because of the timing for us, right? Coming into the winter, we had a lot of interest in our grant programs over the spring, summer, and so we're getting low. But I do think it's obviously from the map that you provided, it's an institution that serves the whole island and beyond, right? So I think it would be smart of us to be there and supporting you some way or another. So maybe that's something that we can kind of follow up on.
Sure.
Through discussions and figure out, I guess, the best positioning for this to come back to council. Councillors, would you be supportive of that? Or?
Yeah, when you're speaking about sponsorship from different counties, you're talking about like private, like personal business, corporate sponsorships, right?
Yeah.
So in terms of municipal sponsorships, like, I didn't see that in your presentation.
No,
So I didn't,
Yeah,
like,
right now
maybe
we
you've had,
have 100,000 from Victoria County.
yes.
And you guys are the first municipality that we're
That
approaching.
you're
Yeah,
approaching,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. Just because you didn't really have an ask in your presentation,
Yeah.
right? So it could also just be to present to the people of Richmond County to encourage them to donate, or businesses in Richmond County, so, okay.
Kind of gauging interest.
Yeah, I gotcha,
Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
yeah, okay.
And so just, to build on the Deputy Warden's point, there is an opportunity for individuals to be able to contribute smaller amounts, is there? Or?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
great.
and we're a registered charity, so we
Yeah.
provide tax receipts.
Yeah, okay, great. So maybe that's something we could help with right away, is to help spread that message and the channels through which people can do that. And then sort of the discussion that might take a little bit longer would be how or if the municipality can figure out a way to support financially directly. So.
And there you have it. That wraps up this week's edition of Roundtable here on Telile Community Television. Special thanks to my Telile colleagues who filmed and formatted the Richmond Council Committee of the Whole footage that you saw this week: Callen Cowan, Nick Boudreau, and Becky Bourinot. If you have any suggestions for future editions of Roundtable, feel free to contact me directly or to connect with Telile itself in Arichat. And don't forget to follow Telile on social media. For now, I'm Adam Cook. Thank you once again for tuning in to Roundtable this week. I look forward to seeing you again soon with a brand new show. Bye for now.